I am. I'm moving on, guys. Like I hope she's happy. Good for her. But I'm over it. Whatever. Your still last name's still technically Anderson, by the way. But good luck to her. I see people asking me, am I dating?
Gypsy Rose Blanchard may be free, but the truth about her past, that's still up for debate. Everyone bought into the tragic tale, the innocent daughter, the evil mother, and the desperate escape. But what if things weren't as black and white as we were led to believe? What if some of the most shocking details of Gypsy's story weren't just twisted, but possibly fabricated, and at the center of it all, her defense attorney, Mike Stanfield. From the moment Gypsy stepped into the courtroom, Mike was her biggest advocate.
You guys, have I gone out a couple times and had some fun? Yeah, I've had some fun. But it'd have to be the right person. Like, you watch the documentary, you watch the episode, my heart was legit broke, guys.
He fought tooth and nail to secure her plea deal, portraying her as the ultimate victim, a fragile, manipulated girl who had no choice but to go along with her mother's twisted schemes. His argument was compelling, convincing, and ultimately successful. But what if the story he sold wasn't entirely true?
And I picked up the pieces of that, and do I still have days where I feel the pieces on the ground? Yeah.
Let's rewind to one particularly questionable moment, one that was caught on camera in HBHO's Mommy, Dad, and Dearest. In a key scene, Mike is sitting with Gypsy's father, Rod Blanchard, and stepmother, Christy. He's reading aloud from Gypsy's medical records, supposedly proving how DD controlled and silenced her. According to Mike, there was a note from a doctor stating DD covered Gypsy's ears, preventing her from hearing lies being told to medical professionals. The implication, DD was caught red-handed manipulating the system.
Tattoos purple. It's like, did I mean anything? Did I mean anything?
Sounds damning, right? Except that's not exactly what the document said. The real note simply mentioned that DD covered Gypsy's ears so she wouldn't be hurt by a comment about her being clumsy. That's a pretty big difference. But in Mike's hands, this minor detail was spun into something sinister, an act of deception rather than a mother shielding her daughter's feelings. And here's the real kicker: Rod and Christy, who were sitting right there, didn't correct him. They had access to the same records. They could have spoken up, but they didn't. Was it because they genuinely believed the narrative, or was it just easier to go along with it? After all, by the time this moment aired, Gypsy's legal strategy was already working, and the world had fully embraced her as a victim.
Anyway, y'all, I saw a couple of videos of Ryan Anderson, and I thought this was kind of funny. I heard allegedly he's dating. I don't know if that's true.
This raises a much bigger question. If this one detail was stretched so far from the truth, how many other details were manipulated to fit the version of events that Gypsy and her legal team wanted the world to believe? Mike wasn't just a lawyer defending his client, he was shaping a public perception that would ultimately work in her favor. It's no secret that the media and public opinion can heavily influence legal cases, and Mike played into that flawlessly. But now that Gypsy is free and speaking for herself, will more cracks in her story start to show?
I don't know who the lucky lady is, but this is what I heard, okay? So don't take this with a little grain of salt. But child, allegedly Gypsy ain't too happy about it. But these videos of Ryan, okay, I like the fact that he is sort of trying.
One thing's for sure, this case may have ended in court, but the debate over what really happened is far from over. This situation extended far beyond legal representation. It was a deliberate attempt to shape public perception and ultimately the case's outcome. And he wasn't acting alone. Rod and Christy, who had access to the same records, went along with it. But why? Because he burned Gypsy.
To do social media a little bit. I know I've seen someone saying like, oh, he's a grifter or whatever. Let me tell you something. If I married a woman like Gypsy Rose Blanchard and we broke up and she did me how she did me, I'm gonna get my bag on this app. Okay. You're gonna pay me one way or another. But
Despite knowing the truth, they allowed a distorted version of events to be presented, making them complicit in the deception. Their silence, or perhaps even their active participation, ensured that Gypsy's narrative remained unchallenged. Whether their motives were rooted in loyalty, guilt, or a desire to secure a lighter sentence for Gypsy, they played their part. But at what cost?
still has feelings for Gypsy, and that's the problem for me. Like, dude, you really just need to move on and get over it. Like, this girl has shown you over and over again who she is. I don't even know why you keep playing with her. That's the main thing for me. Is like, I don't understand.
By endorsing this manipulated narrative, they didn't just fail to provide an accurate account, they actively contributed to spreading misinformation that misled the public, and it didn't stop there. Another key piece of evidence is to bolster Gypsy's claims of medical abuse was the notion that doctors had been negligent in diagnosing her. But if that were true, why didn't Mike ever file a medical malpractice lawsuit? If Gypsy had undergone numerous unnecessary medical procedures, wouldn't that be the logical next step? The reason he didn't is simple: such a lawsuit would have brought intense scrutiny to her medical history. This level of examination could have unraveled the carefully crafted story. Had there been a deeper investigation, the inconsistencies might have come to light.
I love keeping the secrets, okay? Because I know something juicy.
Forcing Gypsy and her supporters to face difficult questions. Instead, they allowed the legal case to play out without challenging the very system they claimed had failed her in the first place.
I really do. I want it to be genuine. And I need this fighting in a sense to stop.
What's more concerning is that the entire strategy hinged on the public accepting these claims without question. No one stopped to ask why an attorney arguing that his client was a victim of medical abuse wouldn't pursue legal action against the doctors allegedly responsible. The absence of such legal action should have been a red flag, yet it was conveniently overlooked as the media and public rallied around Gypsy's story. The deeper we analyze the choices made by Mike and those supporting Gypsy,
please, can we just think about my child for a second in this and be wrong about it? That's all that I ask. I'm not trying to come at you. I'm not trying to prevent you from healing or getting a girlfriend.
the more apparent it becomes that this was never about complete transparency. It was about controlling the narrative. Take Dr. Bernardo Lastrin, for example. He was one of the few medical professionals who openly doubted Gypsy's condition. In the documentary Mommy Dead and Dearest and the Lifetime series, he stated that he suspected Gypsy didn't have muscular dystrophy or cerebral palsy.
I'm happy if you do. My wish is that, I have my happiness with Ken and you have a happiness with someone that will love you the way you should be loved. Because I know you have a good heart. You have a good heart. And I'm hoping that you didn't let me ruin that good part.
He even claimed he checked with doctors in Louisiana and found that a muscle biopsy had never been conducted. However, that isn't entirely accurate. Medical records show that Gypsy's biopsy did reveal abnormalities, specifically type 2 muscle atrophy, indicating irregular muscle fiber size. That's not the same as a completely normal result.
Felt like a part of me was lost in it. And so I feel like I found that missing piece of myself that I always felt was, lost. And now reclaiming that back, I definitely feel a sense of belonging in this space. I did love Ryan. Ryan and I spent 3 years of a relationship together. It was just a different love.
So why did Dr. Lastrin say otherwise? Was he misremembering, or was he part of a larger effort to reinforce Gypsy's portrayal as a victim of medical abuse?
Why are people so obsessed with them? Let them be private. But aren't we giving her exactly what she wants?
Dr. Lastrin's statements carried weight, as he was one of the few doctors willing to challenge Gypsy's condition, yet his claims were accepted at face value without deeper scrutiny. Had his statements been rigorously investigated, the medical records would have contradicted his assertions, raising serious doubts about his role in reinforcing Gypsy's narrative. His willingness to overlook key details and the biopsy results suggests either a lapse in memory or a deliberate omission to support the larger story being told.
She's the one who decided to be a public figure. She's the one who decided to hang her entire messy life out for the public to see. She's the one who made up all of these stories?
Even Gypsy herself has given conflicting accounts. In an interview with Dr. Phil, she claims she later discovered her muscle biopsy results were normal. Without any documentation in front of him, Dr. Phil simply accepted her word, just as the public has done for years. When you compare her statements to the actual medical records, the inconsistencies begin to pile up. Was she deceived into believing a distorted version of events? Was she knowingly misleading the public?
And put them in books and interviews and movies and documentaries. She's the one who chose publicity. So now she cries when she gets it. Now she cries when people speak about her.
Or was she simply repeating a narrative that best served her defense? Regardless, the contradictions in her story paired with the misleading testimony from Dr. Lasterton suggest a deliberate effort to manipulate the facts, garner public sympathy, and secure legal leniency. The deeper you look into this case, the more pressing the question becomes. How much of Gypsy's story was the truth, and how much was a carefully crafted legal strategy?
I hope y'all still Team Ryan after, leaked messages or whatever. Let me talk about that real quick. I wasn't too excited about that because I am going through a divorce. There are moments that I do.
Mike Stanfield wasn't just her defense attorney. He helped shape a version of events that the media and public readily accepted. But what about his role today? Even after securing Gypsy's plea deal, he remained actively involved in her life, attending her baby shower, book signings, and other personal events. It's unusual for a former public defender to maintain such a close relationship, raising questions about the true nature of their connection.
Miss Gypsy. It's just normal. I'm working on it. I know that she's about to have a baby with Ken. I know everything like that. I get it.
So, what's really going on here? Did Stanfield become personally invested in Gypsy's life, unable to distance himself from a high-profile case? Or is there something more at play? Could he be staying close to her to ensure she never contradicts the narrative he helped build? Perhaps he's safeguarding the carefully constructed story that shaped her legal outcome, making sure no new discrepancies come to light. Or maybe he's simply making sure she remains loyal to the version of events that ultimately worked in her favor.
I do have moments, guys, and that was a weak moment. I was, just had a moment, and I was hurt that the messages were leaked because that's a private deal.
His continued presence in Gypsy's life also hints at a level of control, whether intentional or not. Is he watching over her to prevent her from revealing too much? Could it be that, with growing media attention, Gypsy might start speaking more freely about what really happened behind closed doors? And if so, could this case involve a larger cover-up that extends beyond just legal strategy?
I do like the brunette. She knows I like her as a brunette. So, I was just letting her know that. And so, a little embarrassed by it, but at the same time, guys, I've never lied about my feelings towards her.
Most importantly, if key facts were manipulated to secure her plea deal, what other truths might still be hidden beneath the surface? If the public so easily accepted the crafted narrative, what else might have been buried to protect Gypsy? While the case may seem closed, lingering questions suggest that the full truth has yet to be uncovered. This story is far from over, and the deeper you dig, the murkier it becomes. What do you think? Did Mike Stanfield cross ethical lines to secure Gypsy's freedom? And what secrets might still be lurking beneath the surface? Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe as we continue to uncover the truth behind the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case.